I am so happy to be here live in the studio with everybody. Once again, you know what time it is. It is Coin Toss Friday. I am so sorry that we're so bleeded out by music right now. I got to tune this down a little bit. We are back in the studio. Thank you everybody for joining us here today. It is once again another great Friday.
Yes, sir.
Another great Friday episode for Coin Toss. How we doing today, Micah?
We couldn't be better. Amon-Ra St. Brown popped off for my fantasy team last night. We feeling good today.
Honestly, I am very haterish right now because I personally decided that it was a smart idea to go with Jordan Love as my fantasy quarterback.
That wasn't very smart.
I know. I know. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't the smartest idea. But we're back. Want to shout out the whole crew. We got Steph in the studio. We got Jen in the studio. We got Maurice in the back also. And we have another shadow with us this week. Our good friend Tabitha. Thank you for joining us this episode. We are live here in 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. You are listening to the best sports talk show in the universe.
Not just in the world, in the universe.
We don't do world, we don't do continent. We know that the aliens that the government in Mexico showed us are listening to Coin Toss currently. They are listening to us currently. And that's because we are the best of the best when it comes to sports talk. Are you ready for a great episode today, Micah?
I've never been more ready for anything, X.
Are you excited for your stardoms and situms and whatnot?
I mean, I need a little bit of a rebound after last week. But I guess I'm excited.
All right, so let's start it off. Let's get started by talking live about this Thursday night game that happened the other night. And I don't know about you, Micah, but personally, I'm just going to say it wasn't a game.
No.
It wasn't a game. Wasn't even close to a game. The Detroit Lions completely dominated the Packers.
That defense really does look like the revamped defensive core that we thought it would going into the year. They absolutely dominated Jordan Love and the Packers. I mean, what was the score going into half? 17-3?
Yeah, 17-3, I believe. Or it was... Well, hold on. I have the score right here.
4 turnovers forced by that Lions defense.
At half, it was not 17-3. It was even worse.
20-3.
27-3.
Jeez. I mean, and you could tell that, like, the Lions weren't really piling it on the second half. It definitely could have been a lot worse than 27-3.
It got out of hand.
But
I mean, just look at some of these stats from last night. As a defense, the Lions had 4 turnovers, 2 picks, 2 fumbles that they got. They had 5 sacks, and Jordan Love's completion rating was so awful, in my opinion, personally, because 23 for 36, I apologize, is not going to get it done.
Agreed. I mean, Jordan Love hasn't looked too efficient with his completions to begin the year. If I recall, he was under 60% for the year going into last week. And it didn't really look that much better this past week. He was missing on a lot of key throws. Obviously, him and Romeo Doubs look great together, but he has to develop a consistent connection with Jayden Reed.
Jayden Reed.
Thank you. And get the tight ends more involved, DeGuara and Luke Musgrave.
Yeah. I mean, I personally like Musgrave. I think he's a viable play in the future as a maybe even a starting tight end.
No, I agree.
Right now, he's still almost a stream if you have somebody better. But I do think Jordan Love, he fixes up the inaccuracy, which people have been talking about all over the place. Chuck Pagano was talking about it on Pat McAfee's show. I'm pretty sure I've heard Dan Orlovsky speak about it. I know you dislike him.
Dan Orlovsky is a bum. But anyway.
But I've heard him and others talk about it on Get Up with Jordan Love, that he's shown talent and the possibility to be their franchise quarterback.
Completely agree. The flashes have been there. He's just, agree with the accuracy. He's just a little too inconsistent with his throws. I think his mobility is an underrated characteristic of his. I mean, he had a rushing touchdown this week for back-to-back games with a rushing score, so he definitely can use his legs if he really needs to, but just be more efficient throwing the football. Yeah. And the Lions' defense, they have a good defense, but they don't have what the Cleveland Browns have had this year or what the San Francisco 49ers have, where it completely makes sense to get absolutely locked down by their corners and their D-line. So Jordan Love needs to play better, especially against a division rival.
It was really sad to see, but you know what was even worse to see for some managers of fantasy teams? Jordan Gibbs is not going to... Jahmyr Gibbs, sorry. Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to see the floor.
And it sucked because he looked really, really,
6.5 per touch?
Yeah, it carries for 40 yards, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and David Montgomery... He churned out 120 total yards on 3 touchdowns.
121 for 3 TDs, bro. Yeah. What do you take of that? What is your opinion for the rest of the year now between that running back situation? Because I know coming in, everybody thought David Montgomery, he's a liability with injuries.
He used to have fumble issues. He's been inefficient on a yards per touch basis. I mean, another game this past week with under 4 yards a carry, which is like that high water or that like mid-level watermark that you want your running backs to hit.
Yeah.
He's not a skilled pass catcher, although he did have 2 for 20 in the air through the air yesterday. But free Jahmyr Gibbs, man.
What are you gonna do though? What do you do in the future? Do you want to stash Jahmyr on your bench? Are you trying to make a trade?
I would buy low on Jahmyr, and I would try to trade for him if you could. I think his upside, his big play upside, his home run hitting upside. He reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara's rookie year when he came out of Tennessee and the Saints had Mark Ingram as like a thunder and lightning combo.
Yeah.
But for now, I don't think I could start Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy. And he was going as a top 40 player, so that really, it's a killer to hear. But.
Yeah. What does this mean for David Montgomery, though, for the rest of the year? Are you starting David Montgomery in every league you got?
David Montgomery has officially taken over the Jamal Williams role. He has scored a touchdown in every single game that he's played in this year. He missed 1 game. And that's what Jamal Williams did last year. And Dan Campbell basically has Gibbs in the DeAndre Swift role. And DeAndre Swift was efficient on a per-touch basis. Wasn't the greatest blocker and didn't get the amount of touches he deserved, and now he's thriving in Philly. So,
well, do you think? I'm not gonna say it, but David Montgomery, he goes good the rest of this year, goes fully healthy. Does he keep the job into next year, and then Gibbs is still gonna be one of those running backs in the future begging to be traded or get a new contract extension?
It wouldn't surprise me if David Montgomery got phased out of the offense by the end of the year, and the only reason I say that is because I genuinely believe that there is a significant gap between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery from a talent standpoint.
Okay.
Although Dan Campbell, like I said, he loves the fact that Montgomery has slid into the Jamal Williams role. Mm-hmm. He's the goal line back. But I think if his fumble issues from his pass catch up with him, and I think if maybe he starts to suffer as a blocker, Gibbs will eat into his workload, and eventually Gibbs is going to be the guy. I just don't know when.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate seeing that, the game script went that way, because I know a lot of people have had such high hopes for Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what's crazy? Anecdote, real quick. I got offered a trade of David Montgomery.
Okay.
And let me pull it up real quick. Somebody tried to trade me David Montgomery and Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
For Raheem Mostert. And I think they just wanted me to throw someone off my bench in there with, I think it was like Raheem Mostert and like, Zay Flowers. That's what it was.
Okay,
Zay.
I wouldn't consider Zay Flowers a throw-in. I prefer him over Jeudy.
Only reason why I say throw-in is due to the fact that I have Nico Collins, George Pickens, and Zay Flowers all on my bench. They're pretty much the same player.
I
told him no.
I wouldn't do that trade. I think you're downgrading in both spots, but
yeah, but I got thrown that like literally right before David Montgomery's first touchdown,
off, yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have expected that.
Boys, but.
All right, so now that we're gonna move on to the next part of the show, we got some big NBA news.
Monumental literally NBA transactions going on.
Woj destroyed all of the NBA last night with this bomb that he dropped on everybody. Adrian Wojnarowski announces yesterday the Damian Lillard.
Dame time is gone out of Portland.
And where is he heading?
He is going to the Milwaukee Bucks out of all teams.
I know we have a Miami Heat Maximus in this radio station. Connor Cupin, head of Breaking the Ice. Great show, great hockey show. Shout out to them. Hopefully you guys can listen in if you want to. He's a Miami Heat truther. We used to have a basketball show. Don't know if it's still on. It was called Fast Break, I think, or Chasing the Glass or something like that. I can't remember. Formerly hosted by Joe Forbes. He's another big Miami Heat truther. They have now missed out on so many superstars.
How many is that this summer?
That is
they
Dame,
have Miami on their short list.
So Dame, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, James Harden,
yep.
and Washington.
Bradley Beal.
That's 6?
5.
5 or 6? Yeah, five
Either
superstars.
Way, they can't walk away with anything. It cracked me up when Tyler Herro posted something on his, I think it was his Twitter.
Yes.
He was like, I gotta cop me a Dame jersey, a Dame Milwaukee jersey. Like, bro, you're only happy because you didn't get shipped out of Miami.
And
right?
he was so close to getting shipped. And that was the biggest thing people were talking about with Miami was, would you be willing to trade away key pieces like Tyler Herro,
which you have to
Dame.
move those pieces to get Dame. I mean,
and I don't know what Pat Riley was thinking, but Pat Riley said, "Nah,
yeah, and the Bucks, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect Milwaukee to get Dame. That was not. I honestly thought it was Miami or Bucks.
Well, that's what I thought, but you know, a lot of the talk was that there were rumors. There was another dark horse. East team that was trying to get in the conversation, and nobody knew. You know, names were being thrown around. Sixers here, Boston also.
The Knicks were thrown in there.
The Knicks were thrown in there too.
I would have loved, but
would have been amazing. The Knicks need a superstar, and we will mention later on in this topic a possible superstar for the Knicks to pick up. But the Milwaukee Bucks.
I mean, what's that starting lineup looking like now? They have Chris, Giannis, Dame,
Lopez,
and
then you could either do Pat Connaughton,
Pat
Connaughton,
and then Bobby Portis as a 6th man.
Yeah,
that team is looking disgusting.
That team is not fair.
Agreed.
It's not fair. How do you beat on paper? That might be the best starting lineup going into the East, at least in the East. They might be the best starting lineup in the East. Obviously, the West Coast is absolutely stacked with some of the best
Speaking
teams.
of the West Coast, you had the Suns involved in this 3-team trade.
Oh my goodness!
Who got the depth that they needed. They shipped off Ayton. They look like they're better coming out on the other side of this trade too.
That's why I can only say the Bucks are the best on paper in the East because of the West being so crazy. But let's go over. You go ahead, read off. Tell me what we got going, the pieces that were moved in this trade real quick. So the fans know at least.
The Milwaukee Bucks received the prized possession of Damian Lillard, the prize package.
Yes.
The Portland Trailblazers received Drew Holiday, who they're gonna flip immediately, so whatever they can get from him.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Camara, I believe.
Yeah.
Kamara.
Tumani Camara.
2029 first round pick and 2 pick swaps.
Great steal for them.
Great haul. And then the Suns received Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Black Air Force energy of the NBA, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson, which...
I mean, that fills out a lot for them because what was the conversation going into this year for the Suns?
Yeah.
You literally shipped off your bench just to make, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker a thing to happen. Which, on paper...
It's there. It's
there.
It's happening.
That starting 5 is the best. But
the Nurkic addition is going to be huge in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you think, question for you, do you think Yusuf Nurkic even stays healthy enough? Being that he is known as an injury-prone player.
Yeah.
And you need him not just to be a backup center this time, which he's been a starting center, not saying he's been a backup, but this time the pressure's really on him. You are filling the shoes of a former, all-NBA player.
Yeah, I mean, Ayton is no bum, so...
Yeah.
I think he can stay healthy. It's always tough to predict a player's availability.
Yeah.
He's like the Raheem Mostert of the NBA.
Yeah, that's true.
He's solid when he's out there, but
he
needs to actually stay out there. But I think if that that whole plethora of players that they got from that trade stays healthy, and Grayson Allen and Nasir Little contribute like we know that they can, I think Phoenix is absolutely the team to beat in the West. I think they only got better with this trade.
Yeah. All right. So, to what I said earlier, one of the pieces that the Blazers got, Jrue Holiday, has been talked about to be immediately shipped off. The Blazers will not be keeping him. They're gonna flip him for whatever they can, and whatever they can is a lot. We're talking probably one of the best, if not the best, defensive point guard in the NBA.
Yeah, he's not cheap at all. So
and there are a lot of teams that have been mentioned with him.
Were you alluding to the New York Knicks being one of them?
I think. Stephen A. was talking about it with, not Woj. Who's the other gentleman? What's going on? I can't remember his name right now. It's going to kill me. It's going to kill me. I'll have to look it up. But Stephen A. was talking on First Take. Jrue Holiday combination with Jrue. Let me pronounce it better. Jrue Holiday, because it is a J. Jrue Holiday and Jalen Brunson.
That would be a backcourt to mess with. I mean, especially defensively.
Yes. Yeah. And you get a better shooter in Jrue Holiday comparative to what RJ Barrett is putting in. Then you can move RJ Barrett and Julius Randle instead of being shooters. You could do the inside middle.
As a Knicks fan, if we can pull off this trade and dump Julius Randle in the process, that would be
nice. But
chef's kiss.
We can't get rid of Randle, unfortunately, because you need that size in the low post. I know he doesn't like being in the low post ever.
I don't care what Julius Randle likes.
He never plays in the low post.
Invisible in the playoffs.
He really is, but you want him to pick up that mid post game that Melo always had. He hit you with that tripod, and once he hit you with those three moves,
we can't compare Julius Randle to Melo in the post. Come on, now.
We can't. But in a sense, that's the role Julius is going to have to play if you want to bring a Jrue Holiday in. If you're the management in the Knicks, what's your trade to get Jrue Holiday on this team? We have a lot of young pieces.
Quickly would be a
lot of
piece
picks
that would have to probably go the other way.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
You can money compensate. You got the
Grimes
young youth.
Would probably be something they would if they want like young depth. Quentin Grimes would have to be going the other way. Obviously a pick or three. I don't know.
Yeah. Are you letting go of RJ Barrett?
No, and I don't know why. I've always been an RJ Barrett truther ever since him, Reddish, and Zion were the big three at Duke.
Yeah.
He was always my favorite player at Duke. And although he's definitely not shown the complete upside that we can get from him, I don't think you can trade him. I think he has to be.
You're gonna have to put in one more young piece besides Grimes, which means you got the McBride kid,
Trey McBride.
Great wing player, great defensive wing player. Doesn't have the offense yet, but he is a 3-and-D guy. You got. It would have been Obi Toppin if you didn't send him off to the Pacers.
Literally give him up for a bag of chips and a high five.
Yeah.
Here we are. I mean,
who's the young kid from Texas, the center that jumps out the gym? You know who
I'm not refreshed on. I know exactly who you're talking about, but the Knicks,
it's killing me.
Basketball's been on the back burner.
Editor, please add this in somewhere. The kid's picture by my face, but those. I'm thinking if I'm the Knicks, that's what I'm combining together to get something going real quick.
Agreed. Who else do you think, besides the Knicks, who else do you think would be significantly in play for Jrue Holiday?
So there were a lot of teams that were talking about this, mostly teams on the East Coast. You're not seeing too many teams out west moving towards Jrue Holiday. So this is what I saw. I think it was maybe Legion Hoops or somebody that I follow speak about it on our For You page. You got Miami, obviously. You need to make up for losing out on 5 superstars.
Yep.
You have one right here who is...
Jrue Holiday wouldn't be a bad consolation prize at all.
At all. It would take the pressure off of Jimmy Butler having to lead that team,
Because
and then you
as
can put.
I love Jimmy. I think he's phenomenal. He is an elite player. but
Yeah.
he needs that type of help.
Yeah, you can't rely on big booty Kyle Lowry. Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna do anything but look like a grandmother in shorts playing on a basketball court.
That's crazy.
But you're gonna take the pressure off him. You have the Boston Celtics, who are always a team that
They're always in the hunt for
a big piece.
somebody.
And you just got Kristaps Porzingis, so that starting
I
lineup
forgot about that.
that would be
Yeah.
amazing. You take the ball out of Jaylen Brown's hand, who we know can't dribble the ball with his left hand. To save him anything,
You
will
might
die.
be a better offhand dribbler than Jaylen Brown.
I think I am, and I can tell you one thing: I barely dribble with my left.
Jaylen Brown. That's a take I had that I got clowned amongst my friends, and I think I honestly at this point I deserve it. I said that Jaylen Brown was a better all around player than Jason Tatum about a year and a half ago, and I really stuck by that, and I really got bodied on that take.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
gotta own up to that one. Like
Yeah.
that was not my brightest hour. But
I mean, I think most people would have thought that Jaylen Brown looked like the better player. It's just the evolution of the two players have gone on two totally different paths.
100%.
Jason Tatum is putting himself in the super elite category, and Jaylen Brown's the category probably just
Under.
elite.
Yeah.
Just elite, not super elite.
No, like Jason Tatum is probably a top 10 player in basketball, and Jaylen
Yeah.
Brown is definitely in the 11 to like 25, 30 range.
Yeah.
Probably
yeah.
11 to 25.
Yeah, I would take that. So you got Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, 76ers. You're going to lose out on James Harden. Just ship him. He doesn't even want to be there.
He doesn't want to be there.
He literally
I don't
was-
want to be in Philly. You don't
He-
want to be in Philly.
He was literally at a club this weekend, having people hold up signs like bottle girls, saying that their GM, his good friend, is a liar.
Bro, James Harden is a different breed of human being.
I mean, I saw somebody say he is a Hall of Fame quitter. He will do anything to get out of the situation he's in.
Wild, but like,
It's the truth.
yeah.
So you got them, Celtics, Boston, Sixers, Miami, and then you have your Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah,
who
which
could
the
use
Nets
a
were
team.
who I was thinking of. But
They're a team that could use him, and a team, I think a dark horse team that could possibly rebuild what they've already been trying to rebuild. Toronto, you move. Who's the? No, they moved him already. Who was the Fred VanVleet? I was gonna say
Yeah.
they don't have a point guard now.
I love
You
Fred
bring-
VanVleet. At
you-
Wichita State, one of my favorite collegiate players of all time, Fred VanVleet.
You let him go to Houston already, so go get yourself a Drew Holiday.
I hope maybe this time around next week when we come back on the show, we'll be able to talk about where Drew Holiday went. But probably should get moving on to college football. 2 marquee matchups this weekend.
Oh,
Well,
who we got?
Okay, there's a lot of marquee matchups, but just to focus on 2, we got the natty Georgia Bulldogs going into Auburn and taking on their absurdly efficient pass defense. I think that's the storyline to follow there. They both have passing defenses allowing less than 200 yards a game through the air.
Okay.
I don't think that either QB for either team is anything to write home about. So honestly, despite Georgia being a 14.5 point favorite, I think this is a game that I could see Auburn taking the upset victory in.
Yeah, this is a close toss-up in my book also. They're both great teams, and defensively, like you said, both teams are very stout.
Elite.
Very, very stingy. You won't see much of a high-scoring game in this one, but this is a possibility for a Georgia Bulldogs running game to do their thing.
Agreed, and I think if they're going to win, that's how it's going to be. Auburn obviously is going to key in on Brock Bowers, but if that Georgia running game can get going, it'll get away from Auburn in a hurry, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn put up quite a fight, and 82% chance for Georgia to win. I probably would go like 74, little less, but that's a game to watch for sure.
Yeah, I really can't wait for that one, but the Big Daddy game. The Big Daddy game. This is according to Micah, because I personally wanted to talk about the possibility of Kansas versus Texas, two undefeated top 25 ranked teams.
No one cares. You respectfully, Kansas, Kentucky, both basketball schools. We don't want to talk about either of their matchups, but USC and Colorado is a game that we want to talk about. I mean, everybody wants to talk about.
This is as close as Hollywood could be because UCLA,
USC.
I'm saying UCLA hasn't been the matchup with USC as it used to be. A year or two ago, UCLA was beating USC pretty stoutly, but
now Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams came over USC. Caleb Williams being the best player in the nation.
I mean, by a long shot. It's not even close, but unfortunately, people are saying Penix is the guy that win the Heisman.
Penix is having the better statistical season, but Caleb Williams is the best player in the country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
What are you excited for the most about this game before we go into the minor details? What is your thing to look out for this one?
I want to see how many touchdowns Caleb Williams can throw in the first half before they inevitably pull him because they're blowing Colorado out.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of happening. Another Oregon situation. Just I don't see them pouring in on like Oregon maybe.
I think that USC has a better chance of pouring it on than Oregon did. And Oregon poured it on, so I think...
I just think USC might have... Lincoln Riley has a little bit more respect for Deion.
Yeah, that's great.
I feel like Oregon's Dan Lanning wanted to kind of like send that message of, listen, this is the FBS, not the FCS.
Yep.
You're gonna come if you're gonna come and start playing with us. Y'all better take it seriously.
Better be prepared. And I think that Colorado, as much as I think USC might blow them out, I think it's either going to be that or Colorado is going to come pretty close to pulling off the upset. If they can protect Shedeur Sanders, because again, and I will say this every week that we talk about this team, that is their weak link. They need to protect him more, and he needs to not hang in the pocket so dang long. But I don't know. And are they getting Travis Hunter back?
So Travis Hunter, I wanted to bring this up in our Debate the Great section. He did first link up with the guy Blackburn who gave him the injury.
They were bowling the other day.
Yeah, they were hanging out. So because he was getting death threats from fans of Colorado,
which is absurd.
But we don't know. Deion stated he told Travis, your future is more important than this present game.
Travis Hunter, I know, is super adamant to get back out there.
And, I mean, it is USC, so you don't get to play not just one of the biggest teams in college football history, but you're playing the former Heisman Trophy winner who's rolling through teams left and right.
And I think if Colorado loses this game, no more playoffs. I think if they beat USC and they win out,
yeah, maybe. I still think, personally, after the Oregon loss, they're going to have to win the Pac-12 to make it.
Okay.
I think they're going to have to win the Pac-12. Oregon beat you already. Oregon will probably end up playing USC for the Pac-12.
Definitely Colorado's most decisive game of the year. And if Travis Hunter comes back, obviously that's the X factor, as we talked about last week. Their best defensive back and their best wide receiver in one player. But the final line for that game is... USC minus 21.5, and they're giving them almost a 90% chance to win, which I think is
that's a long shot. I mean, I would at least give Deion some credit.
I mean, to be fair, you give Oregon that line last week and they cleared it, so USC is the better team.
Yeah, but I think also you got to take into effect that you just got blown out. You think your head coach is going to let you get blown out twice in a week within 2 weeks?
Do I think that a head coach may let that happen? Maybe. Do I think that Deion Sanders primetime is going to let that happen?
No.
Absolutely not. He's going to have you running suicides from east to west coast if you guys get blown out this game.
I think that this game has the possibility of being one where obviously USC wins, but I think it's a lot closer.
I hope it's a closer game. I want something entertaining to watch on Saturday because I don't want to watch a basketball school play football.
I mean, I'm telling you, these basketball schools, you better put some respect on them.
Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, they've all been phenomenal. I think
had seasons that nobody predicted.
100%.
You got Kentucky undefeated, Kansas undefeated. I think Duke might even be undefeated.
Duke's ranked for sure. So I believe, they're undefeated. But,
so...
yeah, it's nice to see these basketball schools. I mean, obviously I'm trademarking them as a basketball school as a joke, but they're transitioning more into like a two-sport school. It's great. It's great for the collegiate atmosphere to see teams like this,
Maybe you know what it is. Duke got Mike Krzyzewski's playbook on the
Yeah.
football side. All right, it is 4:30. We're gonna go to a quick break, get some CBBs in, keep the lights on, kind of stuff. We will be right back, and when we come back, we will be getting into start and sit. Let's go. Back here live in the studio.
Welcome back, everybody.
You know who it is. It's Xavier and your favorite co-host,
Micah, come on now.
All right.
We miss you, Connor. I'm sorry you're not here this week.
Oh, yeah, that's
But,
right.
We do have, so typically Connor and I pick a stardom lineup and a sit-em lineup for fantasy football every week. One quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, and one tight end in each designated side, start or sit. And we see how each other's teams did, and bragging rights for the remainder of the week. Now Connor isn't here with us, but he submitted his team, and Xavier is going to go ahead and spin that for us.
I got that for you. Do we want to go over last week's?
I don't have it up right now.
You don't want to. Do you
Well,
even want to look at it?
From what I remember, Connor and I both completely dropped the ball last week.
Okay, so we'll leave it at
We'll
the
table
score is even. So Steph and Jen.
I don't know. He might have edged me by one.
I think we deleted the script though. Unfortunately,
we'll take a look next week.
Yeah, we'll take a look. But ladies, remember that we will keep the boys at an even if we can't figure it out. They're 1-1 on the year on their picks.
Anyway, though, so let's get into the starts. Who did Connor say to start at QB this week?
All right, so Connor starts at QB. I don't know if anybody didn't see this one coming because it should be an obvious start. Connor's start is Anthony Richardson.
Which, I mean, that's a lot of people's QB2s, though, so I understand the skepticism, but
I think healthy, he's an automatic start. He's shown when he was healthy pre-concussion, he was dominating for that offense.
From a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah, for a fantasy standpoint, he was dominating for that offense. He has 17 points in one quarter in week 2.
Yeah,
and he's
2
back
rushing
from
touchdowns.
and he's coming back off that performance from the concussion protocol. Connor has him as a start.
I like that start for sure.
Yeah.
So my start this week, I went a little deeper. Going C.J. Stroud for the Houston Texans. The Steelers, they're allowing the 5th most total yards per game to opposing offenses, and C.J. Stroud is 5th in passing yards in the NFL entering this week, which I don't think anybody saw coming, especially with the Ohio State QB narrative. And he's developed a rapport with all 3 of his top receivers in Tank Dell, Robert Woods, and Nico Collins. I think if you can get him in a 10 or 12 team league, definitely do it.
Left, do it right. Do it left.
Stop it.
Do
Stop
it
it.
right. Do it. I mean, I have both Jordan Love and CJ in one league.
I would have went C.J. Stroud for sure.
I went Jordan off the backing that it would be a shootout. That was my idea, was that it would be a shootout, which it ended up kind of being at the end.
It was not kind of a shootout. Don't.
It was not a shootout at all. But that was my hopes and prayers. So after this week, we'll see how CJ does, and maybe from the rest of the season on, I might move forward on that. Because I have Justin Herbert also in the league that I have the 2 of them on my bench.
Okay.
I'm thinking about moving Justin Herbert for.
Hold on to Jay Herbo. Don't sell low.
I have 3, not low, but I have 3 number 1 positioned players on one team. And most people will be like, oh, well, what are you bragging about? That's not a good thing. Someone's going to drop the ball soon.
Yep.
There's no way the 3 of them, I have Kelsey, I have Mostert, I have Herbert. One of them's going to drop the ball. They're not going to be the number
Mostert
1.
is not. Mostert's going to drop the ball out of those 3, I think. But
And so that's why I'm trying to move
shout
somebody.
out to Devon A-Chain. But anyway, so who's Connor sitting this week at QB?
All right, Connor sit at QB. T-Low. Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
He said the offense looked horrific.
It has not looked great the last few weeks.
And then his other key here, UK tax, because the game is going to be in the United Kingdom.
It's in London. Yep, they're playing the Falcons at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And if you want to catch a very cool one, which I think the girls might like, they are doing a version of the show, ladies, that is Toy Story themed.
Yeah.
On Nickelodeon.
No way.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, I don't know if anybody else wants to tune in. I think ESPN will be doing it. They are making the players animated characters. Like Toy Story, like they're Toy Story characters.
I'm not tuning in.
And they're putting them in
Respectfully.
Andy's room to play football in Andy's room.
They did that for the
funny.
NHL too, I think, last year.
I mean,
I love it.
Y'all have fun with that. Y'all have fun.
I love the idea.
Keep that, but
I love the idea. So
Alright.
shout out to the Deucers in the back. Shout out to the Deucers in the back.
anyway,
Who's your sick quarterback for the week, bud?
I'm sitting Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
probably my
Lord.
least favorite quarterback in football. That does not make the Cleveland Browns a Super Bowl contender. Sorry.
Listen, I think he still can. I still think
and
he
if
can.
if for some reason he doesn't play because of a shoulder injury, Dorian Thompson Robinson, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stream him either. Obviously Watson's been battling this shoulder injury the whole week, and the Ravens are top 10 in terms of allowing the fewest passing yards, and it's just not a good matchup. And a shoulder injury is nothing to joke about with a quarterback. So,
yeah.
especially one who is mobile, you're gonna have to land on that shoulder, taking hits when you're running. There's definitely better options at the QB position.
All right, let's move on to our running back starts of the week. And Connor's running back start of the week, Alexander Madison. And you know what's funny? I was just talking to some people about making a trade for this guy, straight up.
I was just talking about trading this guy.
Wow, that's crazy. I was just someone was trying to convince me that he should be the one I trade for.
No,
I'm thinking
like
Kenneth Walker is the guy. If you're making a trade for anybody, Kenneth Walker should be the guy you go for if you could package something.
I mean, he's been great. I'm not going to sit here and say he hasn't been great, but
yeah, Connor's start this week is Alexander Madison. Coming off an efficient game, Panthers' run defense has given up third most to running backs in points per game in fantasy. And I agree with him.
He's in my flex spot in my one league. Two of my leagues, he's in my flex spot.
They can't stop the run. They can't. The Panthers can't stop the run. As an organization right now, the Panthers aren't horrid like the Arizona Cardinals were
supposed to be.
Yeah, like a week or two ago. But they're a program that is just not good enough to win games consistently.
No.
They're going to lose like 1 point, one score kind of games often, I feel.
Agreed.
Because they're right there. But he's right. Their run defense, very porous. And Alexander Madison is looking to have to produce a lot now that Cam Akers is coming into Minnesota.
Bye-bye Ty Chandler. I like that start. I'm going with a guy who I actually had already in one of our weeks as a start, and I'm going right back to him. Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos, who I have a lot of shares of in a lot of my leagues. I think game script obviously killed him last week, and he still managed to accrue 65 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
The Bears are the second softest matchup, according to ESPN Fantasy, for a running back matchup, so the matchup stats backed up that he needs to be in your lineup. He's obviously the de facto back in Denver. Samaje Perine sometimes gets third down work, get a carry here and there. That McLaughlin, the rookie, got a rushing touchdown, I think, 2 weeks ago, but that was his only carry that game.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams is the back in Denver, and that isn't going to be a blowout for one team. And they're playing the Bears. I mean, that team has looked...
That organization
football, bro.
is the worst team in the NFL.
Agreed.
All right. So, who's your start of the week? Wait, did you just?
I just said Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams. I'm sorry.
Who are you sitting at running back?
Who am I sitting at running back? Well, who is Connor sitting at running back? Connor is sitting Zach Moss.
He was my sit last week, and
that blew up in your face because the guy had like 20 touches and 100 yards.
I still am going to bang the drum of Zach Moss is not that good of a running back.
I know a lot of people are Zach Moss haters. I love listening to the football, fantasy footballers. Love that podcast. They give great advice. One guy on there, not a fan of Zach Moss. But Zach Moss, in the 2 weeks he has played, has had 18 touches and 20 touches. 80 yards in the 18 with a TD, and I think like 100 plus in the last week with a touch.
24 touches, I think.
Yeah,
26.
with a touchdown. I personally don't bang with this. I don't bang with this. This is. I'm not throwing this setup. If we're really being true, if we're being true here, I am not throwing this setup.
I won't hate on Zach Moss till the day I'm right.
I think he's an automatic start. The volume play here is at least a flex or a RB2.
Agreed. He's just not someone that I would go crazy for based off a matchup. He's not matchup proof.
And let me read what Connor's got here though. He says Rams defense middle of the pack.
Agreed.
So they could or could not stop him. They also have the greatest D lineman in the NFL. So
well, not anymore, but
I still think Aaron Donald's the best. But
okay,
yeah, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay,
fair enough.
Sure.
All right, but more QB runs with Anthony Richardson.
Yep.
So equals less
goal line touches for sure.
Yeah, it's supposed to equal less in touches. So. That's what he's got.
Okay, it's fair. I mean,
what you going with? Are you agreeing with him? I know you said you're a Zach Moss hater.
I'm not a Zach Moss guy, so if you have a reason to bench him, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that you're wrong. But anyway, my running back sit this week, who I've had as a sit before, and it blew up in my face. Brian Robinson Jr. from the Washington Commanders. Many men, we love him, but Eagles are allowing the 5th fewest points per game to opposing running backs. In terms of fantasy value, the game script should work completely against Washington. I mean, the Eagles should go in and blow them out.
Mm-hmm.
And Robinson's volume-driven. I mean, in the 2 games with 20-plus touches this year, he has 21.2 points per game. And in the 1 game with less than 20 touches, he scored 7 on the dot, which isn't the RB2 production that you're looking for from where people are putting him in their lineups. And I think because of the game script, his volume won't be there. He's not that good of a pass-catching back. They still have Antonio Gibson. I would sit him if you could.
All right. I mean, I agree with you there. It's not looking great in that matchup for him. The Eagles are such a good defense this week. I mean, overall, their offense has been a little shaky.
That
tush push has also blown me. I am so mad. I hate the tush push.
That works.
I hate it, and I'm gonna keep saying that. Even if you eyeball me back there, Steph, she's an Eagles fan. No, she's a Cowboys fan. I apologize.
It works.
But yeah, no, I'm not a fan. Oh, do we have another Cowboys fan here?
No. I just know they're not very liked.
Look, there you go. Somebody that also agrees. Nobody likes the Cowboys.
That's just what I know.
There you go.
I mean, have family that are Cowboys fans.
There you go. We have a mini Stephen A. Smith in the corner.
Oh nah.
So let's move on to our
receivers.
Start receivers.
Who you got? Or Connor, I guess.
Who Connor has? He has MT here. And I'm trying to think who is MT. And I'm thinking it's Michael Thomas.
Oh, I thought you were... Okay.
I was trying to set it up.
That's on me, bro. That's on me. I didn't pick up on
No. He has MT. I love Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas is a great start. He says here, not completely washed. J-Bo has a connection with him and is going to feed him a lot.
He out-targeted Michael Thomas as opposed to Olave last week when he came into the game.
Yeah, he was really going hard trying to get him the ball. And I do think that one thing Michael Thomas still has shown, when healthy, the ball hits his hands,
he's not going to drop it. It's a surefire catch.
And I think pre the injury to Derek Carr, or week 4, or before the end of the game, they had no drops as a wide receiving room.
That sounds about right. I mean, but between Olave and Michael Thomas, that's about as sure-handed as you can get. And Rashid Shaheed looks like he has pretty solid hands, and obviously is like your gadget receiver, running back, punt returner, whatever. Who I like him a lot, but yeah, I like that Michael Thomas shot for sure.
Yeah, I might even try to make. I've been trying to make trades myself to see if I could sneak in a Michael Thomas trade with the undervalue of him currently, especially with J-Bo coming in.
Yep.
A lot of people are probably down on the Saints offense, but you have to remember one thing that's going to be a great help. Alvin Kamara is
coming back, and
that's going to take a lot of pressure off the passing game.
Yeah, I love Alvin Kamara. He's not the player he used to be, but he's still a great running back, and I think obviously that's going to help. It's going to free up a lot of space in the backfield because he'll get out for those little dump-offs.
Yeah.
Gives J-Bo a safety blanket, but yeah.
All right, who do you have in your starting wide receiver spot?
I'm going Tutu Atwell from the Rams.
Ooh.
Who I mean, yeah, Puka Nacua has been the headliner in that offense, in that receiving room.
Yeah.
But Tutu Atwell has quietly had 8+ targets in every single game this year. And 2 of the 3 weeks this year, the Colts secondary has allowed a receiver to have 24+ fantasy points. Calvin Ridley did it against them in week 1. Nico Collins did it against them in week 2. And week 3 is the Ravens, who don't usually utilize a one wide receiver, so I'm not surprised that no one eclipsed that threshold. I think that either Nacua or Atwell could be that third receiver in 4 games to do it against Indy. And honestly, I like Tutu to do it more based off just a big playability and the red zone targets.
Yeah.
So he's just been consistent. So
hopefully you will see that. Tutu, I know that a lot of people have run to waivers to get him on their team, so it may be hard for you to even find him in your league, especially if you're in a super deep league. Like
100%, yeah.
If you're in a 10-man league, go get Tutu Atwell. Go get Tutu Atwell. He'd be a great streaming start for this week. And now let's move on to tight ends so we can get into our last.
Your sit receiver.
Oh wait, that's right.
We're almost done. We'll rapid fire this.
Mike Evans is his sit.
Well, the Marshawn Lattimore shadow matchup, I'm assuming.
That is his only thing here. Which, if you don't know, I'm looking at the camera now. If you don't know about the beef between Marshawn Lattimore
like Tupac Biggie
and
type
Mike
stuff. Like,
Evans,
it is wild.
Deucers, ladies, we need to do a reel of just the fights between. We really can't, but the beef between Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore is very intense. We do not promote fighting, but a good fight in the middle of the game, you know. It's a little entertaining.
Physical banter. It's okay,
yeah, it gets entertaining. I still think we should do a reel. I think maybe we should just to highlight their beef. But I still think Mike Evans, if you have no other play, I'm still playing him. I'm tempering expectations.
Fair enough. Okay.
But I'm not gonna sit him. But Connor has him as a sit. So.
Okay, so my sit receiver, I'll get through this quickly. DeAndre Hopkins. I haven't had the faith in him since the offseason. He's battling an ankle injury this week, and he hasn't topped 65 yards in a single game all year. And the Bengals, who he's going against, just held Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua to a combined 9 receptions. So
yeah,
bench DeAndre Hopkins. He should not be in starting lineups.
I mean, he hasn't looked good at all since coming to Tennessee, which, you know, I know a lot of people that quarterback situation is awful.
Ryan Tannehill is a pumpkin. He's atrocious. But
so anyway. I mean, it is what it is. Let's move on.
Rapid fire
our tight ends real quick. And his start tight end of the week is no other than the good old Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson for Dallas. I like him.
He has actually led tight ends in touchdown receptions, I believe, this year.
Really?
Yeah. From Jake Ferguson, I believe. I might be wrong. I don't have the stats up on me.
It's alright.
We'll definitely
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
Producers,
it's okay.
Put if I'm wrong right beside my head and make fun of me.
Please do.
But yeah, no. Jake Ferguson. He has same as last week. He has a touchdown due. He is a touchdown machine for Dallas. Not gonna hold you. Like if you're not getting touchdowns besides CD,
the tight ends are gonna bring it.
Yeah,
now, it's not
they bring him
specifically
in.
just him. It's just the tight end position in general. But I understand. I like that.
He's
got a lot of volume recently in terms of target share.
I think he has a great relationship also with Dak. Yeah, I think Dak likes him a lot. So that's a good play in my opinion. Who's your start?
Starting Kyle Pitts this week.
Walk out.
Kyle Pitts.
Leave.
Caught his first career touchdown in London.
Leave.
Come on, get your tight end statistics correct before you call Matt and me eggs.
Leave.
Kyle Pitts caught his first career touchdown in London. That seems to be the only place where he actually produces, and the Jaguars are a top 10 matchup for tight ends so far this year. I think if he's going to pop off at all this year, it's going to be this week at Wembley Stadium. Who's Connor's sitting for tight ends, though?
All right, Connor is sitting Darren Waller this week. Giants offense continues to struggle. No Saquon leads to a bad offense, and Daniel Jones looks to target a lot of his receivers.
Yeah, he's taken on that role of I want to say Patrick Mahomes in terms of just divvying the ball up between numerous amount of guys. Like he spreads the ball around a lot.
Yeah.
Darren Waller hasn't gotten the separation that he was supposed to get for us. But yeah, no, I agree. Darren Waller, definitely temper expectations or find a better option if you can. For tight ends, I'm sitting David Njoku, another Brown. 10 catches and under 100 yards throughout the entire year for him so far. Baltimore just held Kyle Granson from Indianapolis to 2 receptions for 9 yards at the tight end position, and he's got a small target share. He has under 4 targets a game. Don't start him. But that wraps up the starts and sits for this week. X, you want to bring us home with Debate the Greats?
Yeah, I'm plugging in the aux cord right now. We have actually a nice little clip for us so that, this honestly is more so that our good friend Micah could take out his anger towards Dan Orlovsky as much as he pleases.
Dan Orlovsky is a bum. Oh, my Lord. We'll get into this.
So the debate this week is actually going to be about who has more pressure this weekend, Tua or Josh Allen. We have a big game this weekend. The Miami Dolphins will be playing in Buffalo, which will be a huge game. First off, shout out to our Facebook Live people. Unfortunately, you will be going on mute now that I am going to aux. But let's listen to this clip real quick of Dan Orlovsky fumbling the bag about this take.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Which QB has more at stake on Sunday? Is it Allen or Tua? I can't wait for this game, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be so good.
It's the best game of the season that we've had so far.
Yeah.
It's Tua, and it's not even close. Tua gets to go on the road against a defense that's very good. This is the number 1 offense in football. Last year when Tua's healthy, it was the number 1 offense in football. This year when Tua's obviously healthy with Mike McDaniels, number 1 offense in football. We rave about the Chiefs offense, right? Under Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, they averaged 27.9 a game. And with Mike McDaniel and Tua, it's 27-2. So if we're going to rave about Patrick and the Chiefs the way we do their offense, we got to talk about Miami's offense, rightfully so. This is why it's Tua for me. It's the chance to get into a different group. The group that controls, or the group that has Patrick Mahomes in it, and Josh Allen in it, and Joe Burrow in it, and probably Jalen Hurts. Tua's not in that group, certainly for a lot of people. Right now, he's not into that conversation. This gives him the opportunity to get into that conversation, to go on the road against the defense that's the number 1 zone defense in football right now, because they're not going to play a ton of man, and go pick them apart. Remember, this very similar Miami Dolphins team went up to Buffalo last year in the playoffs and lost by 3 without Tua.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first because I know you're probably itching to go.
Dan Orlovsky makes my blood boil. He took the question and just took it in my opinion, the wrong direction. The question wasn't who has the tougher matchup, because obviously Tua has the tougher matchup. The Dolphins defense is not on par with the Bills defense. And he brought up the whole the top zone defense in football, the Buffalo Bills. That's not what Steve and I asked, or
Molly asked.
Molly asked. My fault. Who has more pressure on them? And Josh Allen has been debatably the most criticized football quarterback in football this year, especially because of the whole ordeal with the Jets game, with the multiple turnovers in the fourth quarter. Tua is the MVP frontrunner, not like an MVP contender. He's the frontrunner right now. Over 1,000 yards in the first 3 games. Very efficient on a touchdown to interception ratio on a turnover basis. That offense has obviously been the number 1 offense in the league. Josh Allen has consistently been questioned, can he play in these big games? Can he seal the deal in these big games? Ever since the game against Kansas City where Gabe Davis popped off and Buffalo never got a chance to actually get the ball in OT. How are you going to sit and say that Tua has more pressure on him as an NFL player than Josh Allen does this week?
I don't even have to say anything because you said everything for me. I agree. I think it was kind of obvious in my opinion. Stephen A. and they had one. I can't remember.
Escaping me.
We
went over this earlier.
We literally just heard her name when we listened to the clip earlier. But Kimberly Martin. They both said that it was Tua, and I agree with them. They said it was Josh Allen, and I agree with them. Josh Allen is the one who has more pressure on him, and this weekend will pretty much show it. If they have a bad game and he performs terrible, it's not going to be.
You're going to see the headlines: is Josh Allen actually a top-tier quarterback? You're not going to see any headlines like, is Tua not a top-tier quarterback if they go in and they lose that game in Buffalo?
Of course, but It is 5 o'clock. So first off, I have to tell you, you are listening to WMSC 90.3 Upper Montclair, and it's supposed to be 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. So I just reversed it and then re-reversed it for you. It's the end of the show for us, everybody. We appreciate everybody that was here
Thank
joining
you, everybody,
us.
for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great and safe weekend.
Yeah, we're coming in live from Facebook, live from Instagram. Shout out to Tabitha for shadowing in with us today in her comments. The Cowboys do stink. Shout out to the Deucers in the back, Steph and Jen, cameraman in the back, Maurice. We appreciate everybody. Of course, we got our theme music. So what else can we do but sign off? Micah, any last words?
No, we good. Everybody have a good weekend. That's all I got.
Yeah, if you got time, follow us on the
Complete
socials.
brain lapse right there.
All right. Have a great day, guys.